I grew up on stage with the boys behind me. And I always felt safe. I always felt like if I missed an entrance or I messed up the lyrics, like they would cover for me. We learned how to write off each other and how to work off each other on stage, so that if things happened, like the power went out or something, we kind of knew how to cover it. And suddenly being on stage by myself, I had nobody to lean on. And the only reason why I went on stage is because I had people who pushed me there. Because I never had the desire to go out and do it by myself, because I was too afraid and too insecure to do it. I still have those problems, which is why I like to play with one person, 2 people, 10 people, whatever. I like to feel the connection on stage with someone else, because it's safe, you know. Connecting with the audience is fragile. You know, it's a frightening thing. It's kind of like a first date every single time you go on stage, and you don't want to say the wrong thing, or you might spit, or, you know, say, you know, something, your pants might fall down or whatever. And that's the stuff that's going on in my head when I'm playing by myself, and all I want to do is throw up. Like, I'm completely nervous. And when I was on stage with the band, I never got nervous anymore. I mean, I got to the point where I loved it. I was at home. It's what I wanted to do. And so I've been slowly working to the point where I'm comfortable walking into a room and picking up a guitar and singing in front of someone. And I think I have still some big steps to take, but I still don't know if I can do it, but I want to do it. So that's a little better than someone saying, just go do it, because that's how it started. You know, someone saying, just, you know, we would get calls, we want a stripped down version of the band, and the band would say, well, go do it yourself. You should do it, Val. It's good. People will be able to hear you, you know. And so it's challenging. It's challenging, but it's nice, because even now doing some of these shows, we have a nice collection of sort of Mistle Thrush supporters that will support what I do, which I didn't realize, you know. And when I go and I play an acoustic show and they're there, I feel that it's okay. Because now I have a connection with them, because I recognize them, they're familiar, they're comfortable, they make me happy, and they make me feel like what I'm doing means something to them, which is really, without sounding like a total sap, which I realize that's where I'm going right now, it means a lot to me. I mean, I've always said, if I can sing and one person in the world, and it matters to one person in the world, like, that's fine with me. That's what I was supposed to do. This song I actually recorded with Mistle Thrush, but we're going to re-record it with Van Elk, because I wrote it. It's mine. It's all mine. Alright, I'm going to fuck it up. Alright, just want you to know that. I'm just making your editing more difficult. You're going to be like, Val, you suck! God knows his enemies, keeps them in a bag by the door. God knows his enemies, keeps them in a bag by the door. And you know that he sold it, and you know that he sold it to the king. And you know that he sold it, and you know that he sold it to the queen. God feeds his enemies, feeds them table scraps on the floor. God feeds his enemies, everything that's left on the floor. And you know that he told me, and you know that he told me, it's just for fun. And you know that he told me, and you know that he told me, it's just for fun. And I wish and I hope he by the door. God knows his enemies, keeps them in a bag by the door. And you know that he told me, and you know that he told me, it's just for fun. And you know that he told me, and you know that he told me, it's just for fun. And you know that he told me, and you know that he told me, it's just for fun. I like Boston. I like it a lot. When we first started out, we were very frustrated because we had the first 8 or 9 shows we played were amazing shows, because we were the one act that they could put opening for Slow Dive, or they could put, opening for Lush, so we got these great opening slots, and actually became hated by the music community because for some reason we got great shows. And they were real mad because they had been around, a year, 2 years, whatever, really trying hard. And for some reason, we had the luck of the Irish on our side when we first started. But after that sort of late 90s sort of music thing went away, mid-90s kind of music thing, the shoegazer and all that, I guess that was early 90s. After that sort of went away, it was more difficult for us to get on shows, and we actually started putting shows together with rock bands. And asking people to come and play shows with us so that we could reach out to a bigger crowd. And I remember doing a show with Tree, and the singer for Tree coming up and singing with me on a song, and it was totally bizarre because we had been this sort of tagged as this, ethereal, arty, gothy type band, whereas we at that point were writing pretty, in my opinion, I think pretty straight up pop songs almost at that, We had our arty stuff on the record, but we would have 1 or 2 songs that just got written by accident, and they turned out to be the songs that everybody wanted to hear. But BCN was extremely supportive. Obviously, local radio, college radio was ZBC. That was the first. ZBC, by the way, was the first radio station to play Mistle Thrush, and the first radio station to really help us get those shows and to get on. To start to build a fan base, because ZBC believed in us, and it was amazing. It was one of those things where, here's my CD, I hope you guys like it, kind of stuff, and it was a cart, I remember. But since ZBC and college radio supported us, BCN actually got behind it, and they're still very much behind local music, maybe not as much as they used to, but Oedipus was a big fan of the band, and he really helped us out a lot. Randy at TT's has always been a wonderful friend. I mean, through the years, there have been a lot of people who booked the Middle East that became really good friends and supporters of the band. This guy, Clay, used to manage the club and book downstairs. He became the band manager after working with him for a time. Dave Sheehan, all these different people who were in the scene just kind of got on board and helped us kind of push forward a little bit and helped us break down the boundaries between the musical boundaries and the perception that people had of what we were about. I think Boston is a great city for music. I mean, we're very fortunate to have 4 or 5 really great college radio stations, plus a couple of bigger stations that, like I said, BCN, if they get behind you, it really helps out a lot. But even if they don't, the indie scene here is really pretty strong, I think. And it fluctuates. I think it goes from wow, there's a great offering of bands, and then they all move to LA, or I know, God knows why. They all move to LA, or they disperse or join 5 other bands and lose their focus, and then decide to buy houses and get married and have babies and stuff like that, because I guess that happens to everybody of the more saner nature. But I like Boston a lot. And I think I'm starting to experiment more with going out to different places I haven't been to before to see different kinds of music. And there's an awful lot of varying styles of music here. You know, if you want to go see Brazilian music, you can see Brazilian. You want to see jazz fusion, you can see that. If you want to see folk, you want to blah, blah, blah. And there's places that are actually offering it. So many places to play now. But I think now that I'm starting off from the start again, pretty much, from square one, as they say, I'm nervous. I'm nervous that I really honestly enjoyed what Boston had to offer as a musician, from being in Mistle Thrush for 10 years. And starting again is frightening, because you have these memories and these people that you knew that supported you and stuff that have all since gone away. So now you have to start again, and you have to reprove yourself. I don't know if reprove is a word, but you kind of have to build yourself back up. And I'm a little worried about that, because the music now is a little kooky. Not so sure, you know. There's some good bands out there now, you know, doing what I enjoy. But I think, you know, we're in a cycle. I think we're changing. We have a changing of the guards thing happening, and I think probably, as always, in September, October, November, you start to see new bands form, because kids come back to school and people move here from other places, and so I think we'll see a resurgence of new bands come fall. But it is what it is. Okay, well, this one's one I wrote on a Sunday morning when I was really hungover, and I went downstairs and I was like, I'm just because I have a studio down in the basement, and it's crap and it's full of laundry right now, but it's my place to go. So I wasn't feeling particularly swell that morning, and I was like, I gotta go downstairs and write a song. And I went down and I just wrote the song, and I never do that. It always takes me forever to write a really bad song, you know. But this one came really fast. Is this one capoed? I don't think it is. Sorry. There's all this noise. There's all this outside noise. Like birds and cars, and I hope the guy with the Harley goes by. So that'll be great. Keeping the light, I stand there, watching for nothing, standing by the edge of it all, knowing that my body is broken, knowing that my folly is falling, knowing that I stand face to face with you. And I have slept with the chosen, and I have slept with the chosen, and this back and forth I don't enjoy. Capitalize on me. The jokers are perfect, the jokers are perfect, and I with one in my hand, and there's nothing like the sound of the end, and there's nothing like it, nothing like the sound when it's all quiet. Am I still alive? And in all the colors that we drown in, waiting for the final vow, they capitalize on me, capitalizing a fever-lies frozen jealous enemy. And it's all the power she takes is much higher than I can see, knowing that the power she takes is much higher than I can be. Every Tuesday morning when I go and do my radio show, as soon as I leave, I'm massively inspired, because part of it comes from I heard a lot of really great stuff, and part of it comes from I heard a lot of really not so great stuff, in my opinion. And it always makes me think, well, I could do that this way, or I could do that this way, but my schedule requires me to go to work immediately afterwards. So I go to work and I work a whole day, and by the time I come home, I'm so exhausted that it's gone. So the inspiration is there, but the opportunity is not. So what happens is maybe 2 days later or the next night or something, some of it might have stuck, the inspiration or the influence. It may be there, but I'm very short-term memory on a lot of things. And when I write, I never write trying to emulate something or trying to improve upon something I heard or inspired by something I heard. I generally am very limited in my capabilities, so I find myself writing around what I can play. So if I can only play 2 chords, I'll write an entire song around 2 chords, regardless of how inspired I am by this band I saw last night, or this record that I got a promo sent to me, or this band I heard on the radio station, or whatever. I find myself just, my abilities are limited. So really, when it comes right down to it, I could sit there and say, oh, I'm totally influenced by everything, and everything has a part of it. But really what it comes down to is when you sit down and you pick up an instrument or you sit down at the piano, you can only write off of what you know how to do, you know? So it will never sound the way you wanted it to sound when you started. You know, you could say, oh, I'm going to write a song that sounds like so-and-so, and you sit down, and it turns out that you wrote a song that sounds completely different. You know, like one of the songs I wrote that I played today, I had just heard like the last Wilco album, or I'd watched a Wilco DVD, the I'm Trying to Break Your Heart DVD, which is an amazing DVD, by the way. Have you seen that? It's really good. It's really good because it's about how the music industry just basically fucked a band. Okay. But they kept going, whatever. So I saw this and I was so inspired, and I watched that night, whatever. And the next morning I woke up and I was like, all right. So I wrote that song thinking, oh, I'm all like Wilco. And I listened to it and I'm like, I'm so not like Wilco, you know, and not even like I want to be like Wilco, but it sparks something, you know, but it doesn't sound anything like it because I have the capacity to write what I can write. You know, it's like, I wish I could write like, I don't know, Tom Waits. That'd be great, all those crazy percussion things or whatever. But I can't do that, you know. So I think the music, what's interesting is, or what the music and being around so much music does for me is that it actually helps build my confidence. If all the music sounded like Van Halen, and that's all that anybody ever wanted, and that's what everything sounded like, maybe I would think about taking up golf, okay? But actually that's not true because I'd probably still write. I just wouldn't be as forward in trying to get it out there, I guess is my point. So regardless of what goes on, I didn't answer your question. Did I answer your question? All right. I don't know. It was a loaded question. I could go on for hours about it because I think there's such great stuff out there, and then there's stuff that isn't so great. And I get really jealous. I get really jealous when I hear things like Mum or something, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. Why can't I do that? But I don't have the capacity. I can't do it. The capability to do it. And it makes me really sad. So some nights I definitely like come home and I write, and I'm like, oh, I suck. I'm never doing this again. I'm going to go watch TV. You know? But, so there's your answer.
Surprised to have found I'm afraid of myself. Constructing these buildings on windows and doorways, I see them, my skyscrapers starting to melt. years are starting to run. I can see that I'm only beginning to walk. Turning on a needle, and I'm resting on a pin. Oh, in time. Seen through the eyes of exorbitant anger, I will have no answers explaining the end. When all the others have walked through the skyline, I find I'm not willing or able to bend. Outside my window, pull back the drapes to take part in their hate. Only in time will I learn of the reasons for being unkind, of it may be too late. Turning on a needle, and I'm resting on the pin. Fragile, and it's delicate as sin. And I fall down, I fall down, I fall down, I fall down, she's out. And I fall down, I fall down, I fall down, I fall down, she's out. It's the words that you said, it's the thoughts in your head, it's the way I feel. It's the hopes that we share, it's the love of nowhere, it's the way I feel. Overpass, 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 you're overpass.
Oh, I got through that.